Dear friends, today we present before you a valiant and extraordinary woman, a missionary on the cross. Her cross was her bed, on which she suffered all the pains Jesus suffered during his passion. From her bed of pain, she saved many souls for Christ. She is Alexandrina Da Costa. Alexandrina was born on 30th March 1904 in Balazar, Portugal. She received a solid Christian education from her mother and her sister Diolinda, and her lively, well-mannered nature made her likable to everyone. Her unusual physical strength and stamina also enabled her to do long hours of heavy farm work in the fields, thus helping the family income. When she was 12, Alexandrina became sick with an infection and nearly died. The consequences of this infection would remain with her as she grew up and would become the first sign of what God was asking of her, to suffer as a victim soul. When Alexandrina was 14, something happened that left a permanent imprint on her, both physically and spiritually. It gave her a face-to-face look at the horror and consequences of sins. On a holy Saturday of 1918, while Alexandrina, Diolinda, and a young apprentice were busily sewing, three men violently entered their home and attempted to sexually violate them. To preserve her purity, Alexandrina jumped from a window, falling 4 meters to the ground. Her injuries were many, and the doctors diagnosed her condition as irreversible. It was predicted the paralysis she suffered would only get worse. Until age 19, Alexandrina was still able to drag herself to church, where hunched over, she would remain in prayer, to the great amazement of the parishioners. With her paralysis and pain worsening, however, she was forced to remain immobile, and from 14th April 1925 until her death, approximately 30 years, she remained bedridden, completely paralyzed. Alexandrina continued to ask the Blessed Mother for the grace of a miraculous healing, promising to become a missionary if she were healed. She was not cured, but she did the missionary work from her bed of pain. Little by little, however, God helped her to see that the suffering was her vocation and that she had a special call to be the Lord's victim. The more Alexandrina understood that this was her mission, the more willingly she embraced it. The desire to suffer continued to grow in her the more her vocation became clear. She understood that she was called to open the eyes of others to the effects of sin, inviting them to conversion and to offer a living witness of Christ's passion, contributing to the redemption of humanity. And so, it was that the 3rd of October 1938 until 24th of March 1942, Alexandrina lived the 3-hour Passion of Jesus every Friday. Having received the mystical grace to live in body and soul Christ's suffering in his final hours, during these 3 hours she would relieve the stations of the cross, her movements and the gestures accompanied by excruciating physical and spiritual pain. She was also assaulted by the devil and tormented with temptations against the faith and with injuries inflicted on her body. What increased her suffering was misunderstanding and unbelief of those she most expected would assist her. From 27th of March 1942 till her death, she took no nourishment of any kind except the Holy Eucharist. Medical doctors were surprised and began to conduct various tests on her, acting in a very cold and hostile way towards her. This increased her suffering and humiliation, but she remembered the words that Jesus himself who spoke to her one day. You will very rarely receive consolation. I want that while your heart is filled with suffering, on your lips there is a smile. As a result, those who visited or came into contact with Alexandrina always found a woman who, although in apparent physical discomfort, was always outwardly joyful, smiling, transmitting to all a profound peace. Few understood what she was deeply suffering and how real was her interior desolation. Father Pascual, who stayed close to Alexandrina throughout these years, ordered Alexandrina's sister to keep a diary of her words and her mystical experiences. In 1944, Alexandrina became a member of the Union of Salesian Cooperators and offered her suffering for the salvation of the souls and for the sanctification of youth. She kept a lively interest in the poor as well as in the spiritual health of those who sought out her counsel. A missionary on the cross, her bed of suffering. As a testimony to the mission to which God had called her, Alexandrina desired the following words written on her tombstone. Sinners, if the dust of my body can be of help to save you, come close, walk over it, kick it around until it disappears, but never sin again. Do not offend Jesus anymore. Sinners, how much I want to tell you, do not risk losing Jesus for all eternity, for he is so good. Enough with sin. Love Jesus, love him. She died on 13th of October, and her last words were, I am happy because I am going to heaven. Saint John Paul II beatified her on April 25, 2004.